Welcome to Clubhouse with a review of the Bandai high-grade 172 MAILeS Byakuchi, the inaugural retail model kit from Bandai and Sunrise's new IP, Kyoukai Senki. This comes ahead of the show's actual airing and is something from the side story Frost Flower, which is currently serialized in Hobby Japan magazine, so it isn't a part of the TV animation. A bit of context first about Kyoukai Senki because it's a little different from Bandai's other recent model kit ventures. The company says that the IP is specifically for making high target products, so the high target market comes from Japan's toy industry, foreseeing the impacts of a declining birth rate, and for well over a decade now, they've been creating product lines for adult collectors, which is that high target market that I just mentioned. Which is to say, Kyoukai Senki is meant to appeal to mature audiences, the products anyway, and that's important to keep in mind as we look at this kit and other products because unlike say SD Gundam World Heroes models or even Gundam Build Divers kits, the ones here are consciously marketed to an older consumer base, so we can look at these more as high target products rather than children's toys. The high-grade MAILeS Byakuchi was released on September 25th, 2021, and is sold for a price of 2,640 yen, which seemed to be the baseline price that's set down for the entire series. The box is illustrated by Yuta Otani from Planeta, who we've never actually covered here on the channel, but he actually does do a lot of boxes like the Eclipse Gundam and the Gundam Mark V. The box measures 31 by 19 by 8.5 centimeters, so it's about what you would expect from an HG kit. The short side of the box numbers this kit as number 0 in the series to lean into that prologue origin of the Byakuchi, and everything else is repeated from the front of the box. And both sides are identical. The long side has studio shots of the kit and it boasts a little bit about the articulation. And the other side has in-universe background on the world and Byakuchi's pilot and a plug for the TV show. Inside the box, we get the Byakuchi spread across 11 runners with no polycaps and no multicolored runners. We get a sheet of foil stickers with the gold details here for the sides of the chest, and then yellow stickers for the bars on the arms up top, and then the one for the bar near the wrist. These vent details go onto the back of the torso, then these two yellow ones go onto the knees, and these gray ones are for the side of the legs. The head gets two green lights for the cheeks, then this green one is for the aiming sensor on the gun. This blue one goes on the front of the missile launcher. And then we also get a sheet of clear stickers with numbers on them for your free use. The numbers here actually aren't identical and they each have unique streaks of running paint down them, so each one looks a little bit different. For the instructions, we get some background info on the Byakuchi on the front here, and on the back we get information on the parts and the weapons of the unit along with a color guide at the bottom. There are 3 more color pages, but all of that is used for assembly instructions. The black and white side is all for assembly instructions, as you'd expect. About 2 hours later, we have the Byakuchi here with a distinctive outline of the MAILeS series of mechs, like the arms here with the elbow leaning outwards from the body, which calls to mind how some industrial robot arms are made in real life. Now, no doubt you're interested in this and other MAILeS designs because of how it has shades of real-world industrial engineering, and that's not by mistake. The MAILeS gets its realistic touch with design help from Ken Okuyama Design. So who the hell is Ken Okuyama? He used to be with Pininfarina, where he supervised the design of the Ferrari Enzo. Before that, he also had a hand in designing the original Honda NSX. When the guy isn't designing supercars in recent years, he's designing Shinkansen trains. Now, I'm pretty sure Mr. Okuyama didn't actually work on Kyoukai Senki himself because I can't imagine the astronomical bill that's going to come with that work, but his company, Ken Okuyama Design, helped with some of these designs, and I just wanted to explain why it makes sense that the Byakuchi here looks so sensible. With that in mind, let's take a close look at the arm. The swivel from this joint up top here, combined with the swivel on the lower joint down here, can place the hand in nearly any point in a circular area, so we're not just talking about any point along the circumference of a circle that's more common to a Gundam's arm. When you toss in the shoulder joint and then the biceps' rotation, that positioning possibility expands to any point in a spherical area. The practical design of the industrial robot arm has actual function that you can test for real on this kit, and that's pretty amazing without the need for crazy engineering like on an RG kit. The legs are a little less based on reality since real-world industrial machinery don't have legs, but the forward-bending lower legs do work great for squatting low to the floor so that you can have easy access to the mech, while the center of gravity is kept close to the center. They also suggest that these mechs can run really well and probably can jump really well as well. Whether that's true in real-world design or not, I'm not exactly sure, but we've already seen this in the animation in the first episode as characteristics of this leg design. And check out this round panel on the knee here that if you lift it up, the inner mechanical detail of the joint is molded as well, and this cover is actually just something they had to do because of limitations of a two-part mold, but they just splurged a little bit and put in that little bit of extra detail. Going a little bit lower still, we have the claw-shaped legs, which is unique to the Byakuchi, with the two claws facing forward and then one facing back. They're bare and unarmored, which sells a little bit the idea that this is an earlier and unfinished design of the MAILeS series. The claws can be rotated side to side along a peg, and the back claw can do the same but on its own peg, so effectively the foot has side to side rotation. Each of the front claws can also pivot along an axis like this to help plant the feet down onto the ground, and it may surprise you that the back claw actually can't do the same, and it only has that side to side roll. Now this seems like a lot of flexibility, and it kinda is, but the entire foot itself can't swing forwards or backwards, which if you just looked at this design, you would think that it surely could. The lower leg can sort of handle this task, but you're gonna find in practice that the lower leg usually needs to be at certain angles for many poses that you'll really miss the swinging feet down here. It's not a deal breaker, but it will surprise you how the legs are quite a bit harder to pose than they look. Now, a slightly more serious problem is the thigh joint itself that splits open when you turn it, and this will happen for sure. Unfortunately, you really need to glue this together, or else in bad cases, it can split all the way like this right here, and there's really no easy way to fix this other than gluing it together, because the problem is with mechanical forces. And what's worse is this part is shared among other MAILeS kits, so it's going to be a thing on many other MAILeS kits that you buy. It's like a genetic problem that's going to loom over all of them right out of the box. It's such a shame Bandai left this as it is, but this isn't the only corner cut on this kit, and we'll get to those. But let's go back to praising this kit with the crazy shoulder that swings forwards while showing you how it's a frame that handles all of this movement. Then this little cover on the top lifts up, and then the shoulder can swing upwards. So this 2-axis joint right here gives the shoulders a lot of range. But they also made this part look really cool on top of all that movement, where this bar right here slides forward into the chest as the shoulders swing forward. Really, it's not stuff you'd expect on an HG kit, but that's partly where all that higher price tag goes to. The head up here is the best example of the color separation on this kit, with the yellow cutting through the white sections that's all done in plastic, and the same goes for the bit of black frame that's coming through the top. Of course, this is good color separation, and that's kinda obvious with just a casual glance, but the real quality of this design is how it communicates that visual theme of the metallic frame that's wrapped around with the white armor, and then that's further layered on top with the blue panels and other equipment like the yellow sensors. One small complaint here is that these little lines on the horn right here, they actually have a gate on it that attaches them to the runner, and it's really easy to chop off this whole line here if you're not paying attention. I've already seen a few builds online where this antenna lacks that little line because someone lopped it off by mistake. And I'd be a little hypocritical if I praised the head for all the colors and I didn't at least slap this kit a little bit on the wrist for not having yellow and, well, everywhere else. Like the knees right here where it's absolutely feasible. And then the bars of the handles on the arms. I mean, without the colors, the kit doesn't look terrible, but there's certainly a little bit of whiplash going from the details on the head to the rest of the body, where all of a sudden the designers aren't afraid to lean on stickers way more. I mean, they have a yellow runner already, and all these parts in question, they are unique to this kit, so it's not like they need to accommodate any other kit designs and colors. And the older target audience of these kits will let the designers get away with smaller parts that need a bit more care during assembly, so that's not a problem. Still, all of that is going to do very little to tarnish the beautiful elements of industrial design, which is a big draw of this kit. It's immediately obvious how the rules of the engineering is very different from MSs that we're used to seeing, and you're probably very curious to experience this design for yourself. In this regard, I don't think you're going to be disappointed. The straight build kit looks very good with all the layering geometry, but for builders this is also very exciting to elaborate on the logic of the engineering with paint and markings and chipping and any other detailing. Now, Bandai has made us all really cynical, and the first reaction to this design is, oh, I see what's happening. This is a blue MAILeS, so they're gonna swap out some weapons and then color it red and then sell it right back to us again next week as the Kenbu. Those lazy bastards. Oh, but no. In this case, it's actually more accurate to call Bandai stupid bastards, because if you look at them side by side, they're actually very different, with only the torso and bits like the bicep being the same parts. And that's actually really impressive and admirable and, like I said, incredibly stupid from a business standpoint. I say that because if you've never actually noticed that the Byakuchi and the Kenbu are actually entirely different until I told you just now, then Bandai's designers just spent a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of effort doing something good for us without having any effect. When you know it's there, it's wonderful and you'll always see it. And I love this kit so much more for being a unique mold, but I don't think Bandai is going to see dollar for dollar returns for doing the right thing for a change that fans would want in this case. So at the very least, when reviews can slap Bandai for reusing molds and old parts, then it's only right that when they do the opposite and make all new molds, we should give them some praise. Okay, back to slapping them. For hands, we get a set of holding hands, and then we get a single trigger finger right hand, and then a pair of open palms, and I'm sure you already see the mess that we have right here. The elephant in the room is the trigger finger hand that's half done in white, and then the other half is just nonsensically done in black, as if that doesn't just make this worse and turns it into a janky mess. If they could manage to get all of this part in black, then maybe it would have been more sensible to just have the whole thing in white, because at least that's consistent for straight builders. Of course, if you paint them, it doesn't matter either way. This hand, unfortunately, is a common runner to all the MAILeS kits, so we're going to be seeing this again on the Kenbu really soon, which is another boneheaded design that just baffles the mind. The holding hands are a common modern style with the square hole on it. It's otherwise okay, except for the inner side where the tips of the fingers are made really shallow and really abstract, which is not really up to modern standards. This isn't some molding limitation, and it's really more like something that didn't get as much attention for the sculptors. Again, these are common to all MAILeS kits, so the ugliness is genetic. The open palms are suddenly really beautifully sculpted, which makes the holding hand stick out even more. But then the messy design comes back again, where we don't have enough hand covers for these, and you have to swap them around. I mean, what the hell, Bandai? But on the bright side, at least for this flaw, Bandai can always add other hand covers on other runners in other kits if they feel like it. And with the cover on, these hands are especially important on a kit this big. Oh, did I say big? Because this kit is way bigger than you think. Here's the lower end benchmark, the entry grade RX-78. And here's the upper end benchmark, the high grade new Gundam. Yes, I know this is a 172 kit, so it's twice the size of 144. We only have to go back to the 1144 Kenbu that we saw recently to see how tiny these guys really should be. But as a kit on your shelf, these do tower over standard MSs like the RX-78, and this guy is actually as tall as the new Gundam is. You can kind of tell this is supposed to be a smaller vehicle relative to the pilot, so it's going to look even more wrong next to 1144 kits, so sadly it really does look out of place if that's mainly what you have on display, and you might need to give it its own area. Here it is next to the tiny 1144 Kenbu, and it really is about half height of the Byakuchi, so there doesn't seem to be any scaling shenanigans going on here. Here it is next to the other 172 scale kit in the HG series, the Aura Battler Dunbine, which is pretty similar in size, so they're both really tiny machines. And just to be thorough, here it is next to our friendly 1100 benchmark, the Master Grade Gym 2.0, and here it feels way more at home, even though it's so obviously a little bit too large, but at least right here it's a little less out of place. For weapons, we have the 60mm Portable Autocannon, which has a very strong semblance to the HNK G36 rifle. It has a tactical rail along the top of the gun right here, and it seems that the entire storage handle and the aiming sensor is attached onto that rail. The gun is two pieces sandwiched together, as these things are, and the muzzle is a separate piece. The drum magazine can be pulled off, and this magazine is exclusive to the Byakuchi, because we also get this gun with the Kenbu, but that one has a straight cartridge. It's pretty fun to pull these off into a reload, and it's a really nice bit of detail that adds a lot of function to the gun. And then let's put the ugly trigger finger hands on to see another really brilliant design where that stock on the back it actually wraps perfectly around that front portion of the arm, so you get a clear sense that this gun was made alongside the MAILeS series, and this gun's not gonna collide with the arm or the torso when it's moving around. The gun can also be stowed on the back right here by clipping it onto the rack like this. And this is actually an arm that can extend outwards on 3 hinges to help bring the gun up to where those flexible hands can reach it. We get a shield too, which is a single molded piece, and in this case it really isn't a problem because the shield is just a simple and generic bit of armor plating that's attached onto the arm. The back is just as Spartan and as practical, and the black color of the shield makes this backside look really quite nice. The whole shield mounts onto the hole on the side of the arm like this. It's not particularly cool or edgy, but this is actually another unique accessory to this kit that you don't get in any of the MAILeS kits. The last weapon, and probably a signature on the Byakuchi's look, is that back-mounted 4-tube missile launcher. It has details like hinges sculpted into it that suggest how it's put together and locked in place, and it's really the most colorful of all the weapons. The launcher also sits on those articulated arms on the back right there, though this part that attaches onto the launcher can often come off when you're positioning the weapon. It's not going to break or anything, but it is easier to wedge it back in after you're done moving the arm, or else it's probably going to come loose again when you move it. The entire rack of weapons is shared across MAILeS kits, and they attach onto the back with 2 slits like this, which is very sturdy, and they're going to stay on even when you pose the arms on each side. They're also set back far enough that they won't ever interfere when the arm's moving. Onto the articulation. Starting from the top, the head looks up quite a lot, and then downwards a lot as well because of all the space around it. It can turn a full circle, though it does fight you a little bit as you try to do it. The shoulders we've seen with its forward swing, and then the upward swing, and that works along with the hands to let them swing outwards this much. And that entire arm swings around a full circle without the weapon rack on the back. The biceps allow for a full rotation of the arms. The upper joint turns the arm all the way up to here, and the hands can touch the shoulders like this. When the arm is straight, the front part of the arm can turn backwards like this. The hands can be adjusted on their ball joint, and they can rotate around a full circle. The waist is a little bit unusual, and it can duck from side to side at a slight tilt. It can also dip forwards really nicely, and surprisingly, backwards not a lot. The bottom of the waist sits on a ball joint, and it does turn around a full circle, though there's quite a lot of friction to this, and I guess that's a good thing. The legs kick outwards 90 degrees, and they can turn on that fragile thigh joint that we saw earlier. They kick forward until the thighs hit the chest. They go backwards all the way until either the weapons or the shoulders will eventually stop them. The back armor panel swings up like this on a tiny double jointed arm, and while the inner side of this is beautifully lined with the black panel, the additional platform that's on an arm right here is only a molded detail, and this is something we're only going to see in the full mechanic Kenbu that's coming later. The upper joint of the leg folds inwards this much, and the lower joint folds a little bit less than you might think. We've seen the movements of the clawfoot, so I'm not going to be repeating that again here. Maybe that industrial design look of the MAILeS does its job a little bit too well, and it's really easy to think that this kit articulates really well. I mean, it kinda does, because it will do all the poses you want it to, but it's really not as friendly as you might think to handle, and you'll definitely need to adjust each small part to work out all the angles bit by bit. As long as you're willing to put in the time to fine-tune each part, it's gonna look great in the end. The key culprits to this difficulty are the feet that don't swing forwards or backwards, as we've mentioned earlier, but also the waist, which is harder to pose than you might expect with that awkward sideways dip and the lack of a backwards bend. To kind of repeat myself, patience is the key requirement here to explore how all that articulation interacts with the unusual shape on the Byakuchi, and how you can best convey how it moves with those unique arms and legs. With all that said, here's a Hobby Clubhouse 3-point verdict on the Bandai high-grade 172 MAILeS Byakuchi. Number 1, it's an excellent introductory kit to Kyoukai Senki. For a new IP, people are going to make one initial purchase at least to satisfy their curiosity and see what there is to offer, so an IP has one chance to win fans over within one purchase. The Byakuchi is self-contained and it looks like a one-man army with its loadout, so you get everything you need in one box, whether it is to play or display or to learn about the world of Kyoukai Senki. It shows off all of the MAILES' cutting-edge design like the unusual arms and the legs. I mean, heck, it's even nice if you don't care at all about anything else in the series and want this as just a standalone kit for how cool it looks, so it really is an easy purchase that has a lot to offer. And number 2, it's not a lazy recolor. This really deserves some high praise for being mostly a unique sculpt rather than a recolor of the Kenbu, which I actually thought it's what it was some time ago. Because for how much Bandai really loves its quick and dirty color variants, it's also important to recognize when their designers get to make good kits for fans like this. This really isn't Stockholm Syndrome. The Byakuchi is a stupid kit for Bandai to make because so much of this kit is just one-off. And now that you know that, maybe the Byakuchi and the other MAILES kits will be a compelling purchase, rather than another one of Bandai's remold scams. And number 3, this thing is under-engineered in random places. And just to be clear, those random places all happen to be really important places, like how all the hands are messed up in one way or another, and how the foot doesn't swing, and how the thigh joint splits, and how the head has yellow plastic but the rest of the kit doesn't. And then some of these will be endemic to all the MAILES kits. Now, the sum of even all of these problems still doesn't defeat this kit, and it's still pretty nice. But geez, Bandai, that's a lot to ask from us to forgive, right? What the hell, man? So that's a review of the MAILES Byakuchi, an exciting start to the Kyoukai Senki series, and it gives us a good reason to look forward to the rest of the lineup already planned, even for the MAILES variants like the Kenbu and the Jogun. Thank you so much for watching. Come look us up on social media with updates on upcoming videos and sneak peeks at future projects, links are in the description below. Or hang out here some more with one of these other videos, and probably these will be the other Kyoukai Senki stuff when more comes out. But before you go, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to be notified of new videos from Hobby Clubhouse, and I'll see you next time.